And that put me in this mode. My father told me when that was all over, he said, can't is not in your vocabulary. There is no such word. If you want to do it, you're going to be able to. I was a person that was driven.
Absolutely.
And when I started to do something, you couldn't get in my way. And that was all started from a very early happening to me. In March of 1934.
Okay.
I'm 2 years and 2 months old.
Okay.
I still got a diaper on. In fact, I have a picture of me the next day after this episode.
Okay.
In the front yard with my mother.
Okay.
My father took that.
Okay.
He had bought a dump truck load of used bricks. This is the Deep Depression now, 1934. And he delivered those bricks, and he wanted them dumped up by the house where the fireplace was going to be built. And then he would hand chip the mortar off the bricks and use each brick. Of course, that became really fancy later in life, but this was the way poor people did it then.
Exactly. Yes.
And it had been raining, and the guy with the dump truck was afraid to get up that close to the house because none of it was paved, but at least it was more solid out there. So my mother wanted him up there, and my father wasn't there. He was at work. And of course, my mother was barefooted and in just a sack dress and 20-ish. And men didn't pay any attention to women and what they said in those days. She could have screamed, "Oh, she won't even do nothing." He dumped the bricks out on the road.
Oh, okay.
And it was about 500 feet away from where my dad wanted the bricks. So he came home and he was fit to be tied.
Yep.
He was really bad about cussing. Calling the guy everything under the book. And of course, my mother, you dumb woman, you know.
Yep. Everybody's to blame. Yep.
Put him up and she's trying to explain she could do it. And then all of a sudden he stopped. He got this brilliant idea. The boy can move the bricks.
2 years, 2 months.
That's me. And my mother screamed, "The baby can't do that kind of work." And she's holding the baby, which is 3 months old. Had just been born December the 30th, 1933.
Happy belated.
And she's actually holding the baby, and I think to myself, what baby? You got the baby. He's talking about me, Mom.
Right.
I never, ever in my whole life considered myself young. Isn't that funny?
That's amazing considering how young of a life you live.
And think about this story about when it happened. Most people don't even remember these days. And my father had been an engineer at Westinghouse, and he and 5 other men invented the electric iron and the electric fan.
Oh, wow.
But then he came to Florida because the air wasn't good up there in Pittsburgh, and that time of the country was just pure coal smoke.
Yeah.
So he came to Florida for his health.
Okay.
He went out to the pile of bricks with my little red wagon, and he took his slide rule out of his pocket, and he took his watch out of his pocket, and he looked at his watch. He put his watch back in his pocket. He put 5 bricks in the wagon. He went to the brick pile. He came back to the wagon. He took his watch out of his pocket. He looked at the time, put it back in his pocket, took the slide rule, did a few things like this. I didn't know what he was doing. And he said, "The boy can move the bricks in 7 days if he works every day from daylight when I leave till sundown when I come back from work. In 7 days he can have the bricks moved." And I was already thinking about where I was going to make the little road. I was just so excited.
Yes, you get to make your dad proud.
Screaming at the top of her lungs, "Bill, that's cruel. The baby can't do that." He said, "They're never too young to learn how to work."
And look where that got you.
I based my entire
Sounds
career
rough,
and my
but
work ethic on that one deal. I moved those bricks in 5 days. I completely destroyed the wagon, and my father went into town and went into the nice section of town and rode up and down the streets with the fancy homes until he saw a real nice wagon out by the side of the road. And they got a newer one for
Right,
the boy.
right.
And this old used one, which was just had a couple of scratches in it.
Yes.
That was, oh, it was such a nice piece. I had it for years and years. It's too bad. And that put me in this mode. My father told me when that was all over, he said, see, he said, can't is not in your vocabulary. There is no such word. If you want to do it, you're going to be able to do it.
With me, so.
Yeah, yeah.
Right up here's a picture up on the wall of me by that flathead dragster. And that's Lake City, Florida, August 1955, and I won the race. I won everything. I won top eliminator. Those days, you ran all the dragsters, and then you ran the coupe and the roadster and all the different ones, till there was one car that was faster than anybody there, and I won that. And I was in this little big small club called the Strokers.
Okay.
And so a couple of weeks later, we had a meeting. Of course, all the Strokers were there naturally.
Naturally. How could you
We had
miss?
a little meeting, and they had all kicked in some money and bought a little tea set. You know, the little teapot,
Okay.
and the little creamer and the sugar and some little cups. And they presented that to me and my wife at this meeting. I wasn't any kind of officer or anything. I was just one of the guys.
Okay.
And I'll never forget the big, tall, blonde, blue-eyed, good-looking president. I was about 110 pounds, you know. And he looked at me and he said, we've got this little tea set for you commemorating your win at Lake City. He said, I guess you'll retire now.
That's why it was tea.
I said, Gene, I said, why would I do that? He said, because you will never beat the Californians. In other words, I beat everybody from here,
Yeah.
but I'd never
Yeah.
beat the Californians. And my wife in the back of the room said to herself, he said the magic words, and that was August of 1955, and August of 1957 at Cordova, Illinois, the World Series of Drag Racing. I beat the California champion that had never been beaten by anybody. They hired him to come back to get people in the stands,
Yeah.
and they gave him to me for the first round because I was going to be easy.
Yep, an easy out. Nobody knows this guy's from the other side.
The next round, and it stunned them. We come down the return road, and the president of the association, Jim Ramona, this is an ATAA, not the NHRA, came out and met us at the head of the return road and said, in all fairness to the world champion, we're going to have to see that again. And so
Wow.
we ran him again.
Oh God, I love it. I love it. Okay, want to go again now, or do you need to set up some time?
It's so funny.
That's great.
And of course, that was such an incentive to me. I knew they could. This guy's picture was hanging on the wall in my garage. That's my hero. Because he was the first car over 160.
Okay.
And in November the 10th, I would be the first car over 170.
And I never look back.
And the rest
Just.
is history.
Okay, guys, I hope you really enjoyed the little clip you just saw there of our interview with Don Garlits in 2020 before COVID hit. I also put out today another video explaining how that interview happened and why we had to break it up in a bunch of little clips. It wasn't exactly the way I wanted the interview to go. Things could have went a lot better, but we got the interview done either way, and it was the start of something for myself, meeting with Don Garlits and going to Florida to film a lot of the things that I filmed with that young lady. And I hope you take a minute and go over and watch the video. There's a lot of interesting pictures and video information about how this happened, why it's all little clips of Don and not the whole movie yet, and how the video exactly happened. Because it was not a planned event when I took off to Florida in February of 2020. So go over and check it out. I hope you like what I'm doing. So much more to come in the next couple weeks. Stay tuned.